Help me reach 500 subscribers. I didn't expect the night to turn into a lesson about power. It was supposed to be one of those harmless corporate parties my wife insisted we attend, the kind where everyone pretends to enjoy small talk while silently ranking each other's worth. I remember adjusting my jacket in the car, already feeling out of place. These events were never my world. I didn't work in her industry, didn't share their vocabulary, and definitely didn't care about titles. I went because she asked me to. That was reason enough. The venue was expensive in a way that tried too hard. Glass everywhere, soft lights, laughter that sounded rehearsed. My wife was greeted warmly the moment we stepped in. Hugs, compliments, people calling her name like it mattered. I stayed half a step behind her, holding 2 drinks, invisible by default. I was fine with that. I've learned that being overlooked often gives you the clearest view of people. That's when I noticed him. Her boss. Tall, loud, surrounded by a small audience that laughed a second too late at everything he said. He looked at me briefly, not long enough to remember my face, just enough to register that I existed. Or rather, that I didn't matter. When my wife introduced me, he barely acknowledged my name. His attention slid right past me like I was part of the furniture. At first it didn't bother me. I've been underestimated before. People tend to assume things when you don't advertise yourself. They see quiet as weak, reserved as irrelevant. I stood there while he spoke about deals, numbers, connections, all delivered with a tone that demanded admiration. My wife nodded politely, clearly used to this performance. I watched her more than him, noticing how she shrank slightly when he talked, how her shoulders tensed. That bothered me more than his arrogance. Then the joke started. Subtle at first. Little comments disguised as humor. He asked me what I did, but not with curiosity. With amusement. I gave him a simple answer. Nothing impressive. Nothing flashy. His smile widened, satisfied. He repeated it louder, turning it into a punchline for the people around us. Laughter followed. Not cruel laughter. Worse. Casual laughter. The kind that tells you they agree without thinking. He leaned closer and said something about how supportive husbands were important when their wives had real careers. He patted my shoulder like he was doing me a favor. In that moment, I saw something change in my wife's eyes. Embarrassment. Anger. Helplessness. She opened her mouth as if to say something, then closed it. I made a decision right there. I would not react. Not yet. Silence can be unsettling when people expect resistance. I smiled, nodded, let him talk. Every word he spoke revealed more about him than about me. He liked the sound of his own authority. He needed an audience. He needed to feel superior. I gave him space to believe he was. Around us, the conversation drifted, but his attention kept circling back to me like he was trying to provoke something. A reaction would have justified his behavior. I denied him that. As the night went on, he grew bolder. Drinks loosened his restraint. He told a story about a man who knew his place, and hinted that not everyone at the party had earned the right to be there. His eyes flicked toward me again. This time the laughter was thinner. A few people looked uncomfortable. My wife's hand brushed mine under the table, a silent question. I squeezed it gently. Stay calm. Trust me. What he didn't know was that this wasn't my first time in rooms like this. I just usually sat on the other side of the table. I'd learned long ago that announcing your position is the fastest way to lose leverage. People behave differently when they think you're harmless. They reveal themselves. Their ethics. Their insecurities. He was doing exactly that. Later in the evening, someone important arrived. The kind of person who changes the energy of a room without saying a word. Conversations paused. Postures straightened. The boss's tone shifted immediately. Respect replaced arrogance in an instant. I recognized the newcomer, though he probably didn't recognize me at first. That was fine. I watched as introductions were made, as names were exchanged. When my turn came, the newcomer's expression changed subtly. Recognition. Then surprise. Then something close to respect. He greeted me warmly, asked about a project we'd discussed weeks earlier. A project that had nothing to do with my wife's company and everything to do with the reason this party existed at all. The boss froze. You could almost hear the calculation happening in his head. He laughed awkwardly, trying to recover, trying to reposition himself. But the damage was done. The hierarchy he thought he controlled had shifted. Questions followed. Clarifications. My role, my involvement, my decisions. The room listened differently now. The boss spoke less. When he did, it was cautious. He glanced at me more than once, searching my face for a reaction. I gave him none. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just calm acknowledgement. That seemed to bother him more than anger ever could. My wife truly looked at me with something new in her eyes. Pride. Relief. Maybe understanding. She hadn't known the full extent of my work, and I'd never felt the need to explain it. Tonight explained itself. Without boasting. Without confrontation. Just truth surfacing naturally. As the party wound down, the boss approached me again. His tone was different now. Softer. Respectful. He said something about not realizing my background, about misunderstandings. I listened. I nodded. I didn't reassure him. I didn't humble him. I let the silence answer for me. He walked away uneasy, aware that he'd misjudged the wrong person. On the drive home, my wife finally spoke. She asked why I hadn't said anything earlier. I told her that people who mock others usually do it because they're afraid of being small themselves. Tonight he'd learned something about me. But more importantly, she had too. That night wasn't about humiliation or victory. It was about contrast. About how quickly power can flip when assumptions fall apart. I didn't need to announce who I was. The truth has a way of arriving exactly when it's needed.